Hey, and welcome to another video. And in today's video, I'd like to talk about, I'd like to share about my past work experience. So, um, when I first graduated, the first job that I got was a job with the government. So one of my roles was basically to be the primary role as a research officer. So basically, what I do is I will read a bunch of research reports on policies and strategies pertaining to small and medium-sized enterprises. And then what I do is I kind of condense, synthesize all that I have read from the reports. I kind of condense that into a one page, and that kind of send out to the senior management on a weekly basis. So basically, what I do for most of my time was I basically just read and write. And so that was what I did for about 9 months. After 9 months, what happened was I kind of got bored with the job, and I told my boss that I wanted some industry experience. And so one of the things that she gave me time to do was that she said, "Yeah, you can go out and get that industry experience, but first you need to get your main work done." So she kind of said that once you've done your work, the rest of the time, you can go and do some industry work. So I got my work done very quickly because I really wanted to do more industry work. And after that, what I did was I really went on to do some industry work. And my God, the thing was, the main eye opener for me when I went down to do industry work was basically because I get a chance to speak to those small and medium-sized business owners. And from there, I was able to get firsthand what are some of the problems that they face. So, for example, let me give you an example. Now, in the reports, many of the reports that I read, one of the key thing that one of the strongest thing that was critical about the small and medium-sized businesses was that um, these small businesses do not invest in the training and development of their people. Now, if you think about it, it kind of makes sense because these are small businesses, and they really need their people to be, at work most of the time, if not all the time, and they don't have the capacity or the resources to kind of allow someone or their employee to kind of, go out and get a whole full day of training. Somebody's got to cover the work, or otherwise, some parts of the business wouldn't function at all. And so because of that constraint, it was really difficult to kind of release someone to go for a one full day of training. And that makes a lot of sense because it became known that because of that constraint itself, many small and medium-sized business owners don't send their people for training, and so that people are not properly skilled. They don't have up to date. They do not know about up to date. They are not kept up to date in terms of technology and in terms of skill sets, and as a result of that, they are not able to compete as effectively as the bigger companies who have the time, the resources, as well as the manpower to kind of send their people for regular training. Now, the other thing was that, of course, people, because of that, lesser and lesser people want to kind of join small and medium-sized companies because they see that the opportunity for them to be trained, it's minimal, and as a result of that, they kind of not pick a small business. So they would rather work with a big firm because they know that the big firm can invest in their training and development, whereas a small business can't. And so this becomes a problem that feeds itself because of the fact that the small companies don't train their people, hence their people are not skilled enough, and because of that, it doesn't attract the good people to want to work for them because the ones who are good would prefer to work for, say, a large company because they know that the large company are able to support them in terms of training and development. So this was a key thing that was facing, and we were coming up with policies and recommendations on what the government could do to kind of bridge the gap. Now, but when I went down and when I did my industry work, so to say, when I began working on industry, doing industry work, one of the first few things was really to go up there and talk to the business owners. And when I talked to the business owners, I then began to recognize the problem from their point of view. Now, their point of view is that, look, in the first place, I have limited resources. And because I've had limited resources, I am not willing to send my people for training because I can't afford it. I can't afford both the time as well as the resources and the money. And as a result of that, that kind of constrained me. On the other hand, I may spend time and money training someone, and then that someone would leave and join my competitor. And so my competitor kind of benefit from it because by the time this guy goes over, he's not only well trained, but he also has got the experience from working with me. And so this became a situation from the perspective of the business owner. Now that perspective was not obvious to us when I was sitting at my desk doing, reading the research papers and writing those reports. But it became obvious to me the moment that I went down and spoke to the business owners themselves. Now, this gave me a huge aha moment, as well as it gave me that revelation that just by reading research reports itself only gives you one side of the picture. It doesn't accurately reflect what's going on the ground. And so that incident and that experience kind of led me to really rethink the way I look at business these days. So you could read all you want about what kind of problems that people are facing and what are the situations that they are going through, but all you read is just one-sided. So what I really do these days is that when I get the opportunity or I seek out opportunity to speak to people that I want to work with, because only then will I be better able to understand and to empathize with them in terms of their problems, their constraints, and what they are facing. Because otherwise I will be making my own judgment and having my own interpretation of what the problem is based on what I read, which may or may not be accurate. And more often than not, I would turn out to be wrong in terms of my understanding just based on reading. So a core principle that I kind of learned from here is that no matter how much research you have done, you still need to go down and speak to the people that you intend to work with. Yeah, well, so there are various platforms and various opportunities for you to do that. One, of course, is to meet people online and then kind of take the relationship further, or to take that, relationship further and kind of meet them in person. The other is to go to meetups, for example, or go to events whereby you have the opportunity to meet potential or people whom you would want to target as your customers. Yeah, and of course the third is really to pick up the phone and just talk to some of the customers that you want to work with. Those will be some of the things that I would truly recommend. So that experience led me to now take that proactive approach. So I'm not just reading a bunch of reports or reading reports from the internet and then kind of come to my own conclusion that because this is what I read and this is it, I come to my own conclusion of that. I would take that additional step of meeting up with people or talking to people and seeking out opportunities to really understand what are some of the problems that they are facing. Because until you do that, you never really fully be able to know what are the problems that they are facing. All right, so I hope this has helped you and given you an additional perspective of that. So in case you're wondering where I am, we are at the Lafayette Public Library here in Louisiana. It's a beautiful library. and always no trip is complete without a visit to the library. Sometimes we are able to get a library card just using our ID. And in some states and in some county, they are a little bit more strict or stricter. But in most places, we are able to get a library card. So with the library card, we are able to kind of check out items for our kids and also bring them here for some events. The libraries here do have some fabulous events, and many of the libraries have got the Lego event on a weekday, and that's one of my kids' favorite. All right, so this is Melvin. I'll talk to you again. Bye bye.